This is Komets Corner.
It is Valentine's Day week, and I want to take a look at the kiss cam because I want to tell you, hopefully you're having a little bit better day than this young man had. Friday night, she didn't seem too enthused to be on the kiss cam.
Denied.
What is going on here? What's the game plan here? I mean, he eventually gets the smooch, but I don't know if it was as welcome as you would like.
Yeah, someone's been friend zoned.
Oh my
Sorry,
gosh.
brother.
Disastrous way to start Valentine's Day week. All right, so it was kind of going from the kiss cam to some hockey, a love-hate kind of weekend for Komets fans with the way things started and the way things ended. But it goes back all the way to Wednesday night, going out to Wheeling on Wednesday. We're going to get into those games first, but I want to take a look, kind of broader view. What's your takeaway from this past week? Because it's Dickensian when you say it was the best of times and the worst of times.
Well, you know, it's that time of year. I mean, the Komets turned around their, 20% of their decor in 48 hours. I mean, you can't have that happen and expect perfection or to really have a lot of success. I mean, get hats off to Jesse Kallicki again. You lost Harrison Reese. He's going to be out for quite a while. Matt Murphy is still not able to play. Tyler Inamoto is up in Bakersfield. So you brought in Lucas Henyo, who's a guy who's had some experience in the league but hasn't played hardly at all this season. And, you brought in a kid, Alex Murray, who was released, who you're basically a college kid, basically was just a body to get us through last week. And you also make a hasty trade to get Cole Beeman, another guy who's rookie. He's just coming into the league. So, that's a lot. I mean, to ask for two new guys to come in there and try, you don't even know the guys' names. You don't even know your teammates' names, let alone any system or anything like that. And, they did a fine job, all things considered. But, this is what happens to teams in this league. It happens to everybody. It just happened to us this weekend, and you still, Matt Berry is on the shelf, you're still, Jaden Grube is still on the shelf, these are things, that people need to keep in mind. I mean, when you do not have a consistent lineup, which every team goes through, I think it's only a couple times this year we've actually had back-to-back lineups, as the same. So, it's crazy to really put that much pressure on the guys, especially when they're playing so many games in a row. It was just one of those weeks where you knew the activity itself was going to catch up to them.
Taking a look at some of the stats from the weekend overall, a couple things jumped out at me. One, you guys never had less than 37 shots in a game. You outshot every single opponent in 4 games. 55 shots in Wheeling on Wednesday night, but never had less than 37 shots and never were outshot by an opponent. And also power play was 2 of 13. I know they'd like to up that number a little bit in terms of success rate, but and gave up 3 power play goals to the opposition. What do those numbers concern you? What do those numbers impress you?
The power play, I preach this. It's what we do 5-on-5. Because the whole game is played 5-on-5. Only a portion, you're playing shorthanded, So, the Komets came into the weekend number 2 in the league in the power play. That's going to take a little bit of a hit. But again, you had a new power play unit out there essentially all week. So, yeah, they're not going to have that rhythm, And again, every team goes through it. Again, I look at that 5-on-5. I consider when you get power play time, it's just a bonus. If you take a team like Toledo, they live and die on the power play. We saw that on Saturday. 5-on-5, they're very beatable. 5-on-5, the Komets are one of the best teams in the league. So when you get those power plays, if I'm playing a team like Toledo that has 12 shorthanded goals, mind you, I'm going to be very conservative. If I got the lead, especially like in their building, I get a power play, I'm going to be conservative because I don't want them to score a shorthanded goal. I'm looking at that 2 minutes like, all right, this is just bonus time. We're going to play keep away. I don't care if we score. I just want to keep them off the board. So that's the mentality. So, I just think the power plays, a lot of times, it's an overblown stat because your power play chances are going to decrease in the postseason. One of my great stats that I like when I see things. I know a couple years ago, Florida won 3 state Kelly Cups. They never had a power play unit that was over 12th in the league. Their second cup, They were 26th in the league on the power play.
Because it doesn't matter in the postseason.
Because it doesn't matter in the postseason as much. So you're not going to get that many chances. It's 5-on-5. And 5-on-5 with this group, I'm very happy.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about Wednesday night as we take a look at the highlights. Nothing like a midweek trip to Wheeling to head down to West Virginia to start off a 4-game week, 4 games in 5 days. Let's take a little bit a look at this one because, you know, if people don't pay attention to other teams outside the Central Division, Wheeling's a really good hockey team.
Yeah, you know, they're a team. That's another great example is that they were just completely off the chain to start the season. I mean, they looked like they were going to run away with everything, but guess what? Call-ups, injuries, you know, they've come back down to earth. You know, they were playing 2 men short in this game. They had to bring up Alexander Kukali, who played for the Komets, who hadn't played all year. He just happened to live in Pittsburgh, and they needed a body. So he came in and played in that game. So the Komets, you know, so they were really shorthanded. So it was up to their goaltender, Taylor Gauthier, to really win this game, and he did. That's a game where you just tip your cap, and even as I'm calling it, I'm appreciating the work this guy was doing. I mean, 55 shots, and I'll tell you what, 30 of them were green shots. I mean, that had the potential of going in. I mean, there was nothing easy. We had 3 or 4 breakaways. So we had 2-on-1s, point-blank shots. We just weren't getting anything by this guy. There was nothing more that the Komets could do. I mean, really, I thought it was really one of the better games we played all season. But, again, you tip your cap to the goaltender. We escaped with a point, so, you know, it was a plus. But tell you what, again, even talked to some of the Wheeling people. They were like, that may have been one of the greatest games ever by a Wheeling goaltender. It's unfortunate it was against us. But, you know, sometimes you just have to appreciate good goaltending, and that's what that was.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was listening to the broadcast and I'm like, man, Shane has given this other goaltender their flowers, you know, like, and there's as an impressive performance, like as you said, as we've seen against the Komets this season. So, you know, you tip your cap. But when you start off a weekend, or a week, I should say, of hockey like this, picking up a point on the road on Wednesday, I mean, what was the bus ride back from Wheeling like? What was the tangible vibe knowing that, okay, we got 3 games at home this weekend, we can make hay at the Coliseum? We picked up a point on a Wheeling team that's spent a good chunk of the season in first place.
Yeah, you know, you got a point, but at the end of the day, you still lost the hockey game. So, you know, it wasn't exactly a jovial mood, but, you know they had to focus on the weekend, and, you know, you just got to kind of flush that one. And, again, tip your cap to the goaltender. But, you know, it was a crazy weekend. You know, you got a big win on Saturday over Iowa, and then it was a typical Fort Wayne-Toledo game on Saturday, and then the guys, you know, were just gassed on Sunday, you know. So you turn the page on this one. We knew it was going to be a rough February. You know, you just put it in the blender, flush it, and go.
Did you have an opportunity to go buy a Bojangles? I feel like every time I go to Myrtle Beach or go anywhere down south and you hit through West Virginia, like there's got to be a Bojangles stop in there.
But there is an Italian place called Figueretti's that I go to every trip. It is just money. So that's my.
What's your go-to order there?
It's chicken parmesan.
Oh,
man. That is the go-to there. And every trip I have to go, so that's why I look forward about going to the wheel.
Okay, there you go. You got to have something. You got to have something. Well, you know, one guy that you know has had some delicious goals in years past is PC Druin. I know he's you know, one of the fan favorites of a golden era of Komets hockey with Chalker, with Bush, with all those guys, and we had a chance to chat with him before Friday night's game, courtesy of Midwest Box Breaks. And here's what PC had to say about his legacy with the K's. We are here with Komets legend PC Druin, and you are, it's Friday night, you're signing some autographs, meeting some fans here, courtesy of Midwest Box Breaks. How did that come about, and what is it like when you get a chance to come and mingle with some Komets fans who certainly remember the times that you scored many a goal here at the Coliseum?
Well, first, I hope they remember me, and Mitch reached out and said they were doing this, and we kind of went back and forth on a few dates, and this one worked perfectly, and I'm here.
When you come back and you talk to some Komets fans, what's the first thing they bring up? What do they ask you about?
Usually about those 3 championships that we won in a row there. Some epic comebacks we had. The first one with the Game 7 triple overtime will always be a good memory for me and probably for a lot of fans too.
Yeah, I run into Mr. Hodgman every once in a while. His daughter's got a pretty good volleyball swing out there. So when you talk about those guys, I mean, just some legendary rosters back there when you played with Bertram and with Chalk and Bush and Huckalo, and I mean, the names go on and on. Do you still get a chance to chat with those guys, group chat, or what's the vibe like around? Because that was a really special group for Fort Wayne.
It was, and I think that's the cool thing about those teams. We had continuance with the team, right? Like guys would play here for 4, 5, 6 years, in my case, and Chalker too, even longer. But unfortunately, no, I don't. Just life's too busy, work, kids, and all that. Every time we see each other, it's like old times. We just we connect and get back to right where we left off. But fortunately, no, I don't keep track too much of them. I talk to Chalker probably once or twice a year. Try to keep informed about his team and his career and what he's doing and stuff like that.
For you mentioned life. Where are you now? Because once you retired, you started working for SDI, and I imagine you said you're still doing that.
I'm still working with SDI, different positions here and there. We moved about 4 years ago to Fishers. So I more disconnect from the Komets and from the hockey world here. And both my boys play hockey, so I've just traveling every weekend, everywhere.
What's it like to be on the other side of the glass as opposed to being a player, but now being a dad? And I imagine you give him a little coaching as well.
I have. I coached him for a bunch of years. I think Tyler was 14 and Noah was probably 12 when I stopped coaching him. And that was probably the time. I enjoyed it. It was just hard to do and keep up. Hey, what's up?
Always good. At least he wasn't throwing punches, because that's what I remember him from his playing days.
Great to see him.
Yeah.
Great teammate.
Olivier Legault, for all you people at home.
Yeah.
When you take a look at your time, what's the one big piece of advice you give to not only your sons, but to anybody that asks you about, okay, what should I be doing? What are the things that matter coming up playing the game of hockey?
I was just giving this advice to a parent asking me the last week. You just got to really love it, and you got to want to do it as much as possible. Practice, watch hockey, really get devoted to it. And I think all the good players I played with, that's what they had in common. They would stay on the ice forever, and they just wanted to learn and just love the game.
You take a look back at your career, back in '97, 3 games with the Boston Bruins up in the NHL. What was that experience like, and how do you kind of encapsulate just kind of what it means to have played on that level at one point?
It was great. Obviously, I wish it would have lasted a bit longer. Sometimes I was telling my son the other day, maybe I made a mistake and left for Europe a little too early. Maybe I should have given it a second chance with a different organization at some point. But I had a blast playing hockey for a living. I ended up playing for 15 years total. Here, playing in Fort Wayne in the last few years were also great. But I had some great times in Europe. Didn't get super rich from it, but rich in experience, I guess.
All right. Yeah. We appreciate all the stories, all the highlights, all the goals, and definitely the championships here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great to be back.
All right. He's PC Druin. I'm Glenn Marini, and that is Komets Corner. Well, it was a heck of a way to kick off Friday night, because it only got better that night with a 7-2 win over Iowa, and obviously great to have PC back. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. And when you take a look at this team, it may be a little inspiration from Mr. Druin, because they were scoring early, they were scoring often, they were doing whatever they wanted to do against the Heartlanders. It felt like.
Well, actually, it was a tight game. I think it was 2-1 going into the third. Yeah, so we got 5 goals there in the third period, and that was the most goals we've got in a single period this season. And the Komets have suddenly turned into a third period team. I think we're like a plus 15 now in the third periods. A big reason was because of that. But no, that was it was a little nail biter there going into the third. I'm like 2-1. We don't want to lose to the last place team here, but they responded there in the third. Petrozelli got 2, Megara got 2 goals, and they looked really sharp there in the third. But it's a team. Iowa, they're very much in flux right now. They're trying to find their way. They've played better as of late, but they're also very depleted as well. But it was nice, to give the crowd, the fans, a good offensive showing there in the third period. Yeah,
8,003 fans at this one. And Trevor Janicki, we saw him get the first goal of the night. He had a goal on Saturday as well. What have you seen recently from Janicki that's impressive?
Yeah, that broke a very long goal-scoring drought. drought for Janney, and I think he had 3 points in that game. He had a couple on Saturday as well. So Janicki's one of those guys who does the little things that doesn't show up on the game sheet. He's a grinder. He throws the body around. He's a good puck handler. You can put him in any situation. You can put him on the power play. You can put him on the PK. Doesn't rack up the numbers, but that's not what he's there for. He's there to, a strong forecheck. Again, he's a guy who's very physical, and really, really happy to have him on this team because, again, he does the little things.
You saw the goal from William Dufour, his first in the Komets uniform, and then 12 seconds into the third period, it starts to get going with Petey.
Yeah, it's when you get that good start. I mean, 12 seconds in, I think that was the fastest goal to start a period this season. So a lot of firsts there in Friday night's win. But to get Petey going, he's a veteran who's had trouble scoring goals, and the 2 goals he scored were typical Anthony Petrocelli goals. Right there, right where he needed to be, right place, right time, and able to bury it. So it's nice to get him going, and it was a fun night on Friday.
What were they able to do differently in the third period as opposed to the first or second, or was it something Iowa did or didn't do? What was really the switch flipper, if you will?
I think we were more aggressive. We knew we had to come out firing there in the third, and they're a little depleted on the back end, so they were playing on their heels. And as soon as you get that goal 12 seconds in, you kind of break their spirits, and that's what I kind of felt.
When you take a look at, I know it happened in the second period, but Dufour with his goal, his first as a Comet. It was on the power play. What have you seen from him early on? Because I know Komets fans excited to have this guy in the lineup.
Yeah, I think he's a little frustrated. Again, he's still learning the league. He's still learning the team, and there was he's had really good chances. Going back to his first shift out there in Cincinnati, where he hit the post. This guy has got a lot of skills, and he's going to find his way. Once he's a guy I can kind of feel like once they start going, they're gonna come in bunches, and he's getting really close.
And the penalty kill, you were 3 for 3 on the penalty kill, so that certainly doesn't hurt on Friday night.
Yeah, you don't want to give the other team power play chances, but you know what, you're going to take penalties, and you just have to kill them off, and that's what the Komets did. They've been really good on the penalty kill. I mean, it's taken some hits as of late. I think they're middle of the pack now in the league, but for the most part of the season, they've been the top 5 team in the penalty kill. But again, it just goes back to you have different personnel, different guys out there. You miss a guy like Tyler Inamoto out there. You miss a Matt Berry. You miss all these guys. So yeah, I mean the power play is the penalty kill is no different than the power play when you have new personnel out there every game.
After we interviewed PC, I saw Josh Grohl having a kind of a heart-to-heart chat with Olivier Legault, and it just seemed like a lot of positive energy. Like he was really pouring into Grohl, and when he left, I was like, I bet Grohl has a great game.
Yeah.
I just felt like he would, and then he gets his 8th goal. We saw just
yeah,
a second
he did.
ago.
I thought Josh Grohl played great all weekend long. He was around the net. I mean, he was creating space for himself. He was finding the open man. He was being aggressive. Here's a kid that was really good down the stretch last year after we picked him up out of college. Great to have him here for a full season, and he's a guy I think going into these dog days here, I think he is going to be a real key and a real spark plug because he doesn't the other team I think kind of forgets about him. I think he just kind of floats around there. Next thing you know, he's got the puck. He's dangling around people. He's getting chances. He's trying to set guys up. He also plays a very physical style of hockey. So really looking forward to Josh Grohl going down the road here.
A good energy guy to have for
absolutely.
the Komets. Okay, so everything goes well on Friday night. It's a 7-2 win against the Iowa Heartlanders, and then the turnaround is against Toledo on Saturday night, and there's no team you want to beat more in the ECHL than Toledo, especially at home.
Yeah, first place was on the line. We were charged up after scoring 7 goals the night before, and unfortunately it didn't carry over. We stayed in the dressing room for the first 7 minutes, and that's what Toledo does. I mean, they come out, if you are going to play passive, you're going to be on your heels to start the game, they're going to bury you, and they're going to get goals quickly, and they did. They got 3 goals in about 7.5 or 6.5 minutes, and they try and break your spirit. They're going to play defense the rest of the way, and they're going to wait for you to take a penalty, and they're going to get power play chances, which they did. I mean, it was literally just out of their playbook. We played right into their hands. But after we settled down, unfortunately, Sam Janssen got yanked, but it was not on him. And I'm sure Jesse Kalicki, what he was barking at on the bench after Sam got pulled, he said, Sam didn't get pulled. You pulled him. I'm sure he was really telling, hey, that was on all of you, not on Sam. Gave up 3 goals. Nathan Day came in, played very well in relief, and the rest of the way, again, 5-on-5, outplayed Toledo all night long. You managed to get back in the game. You pulled within one. You actually had a chance at the end, when Kirill Tatayev scored with 1:58 left with the goaltender pulled. It's like, man, a full 2 minutes, goaltender out, we can tie this. And so many chances down low, very, very close in tight, unable to get it past Carter Guylander. But it was a game that the Komets very much should have won.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that, because that's what I kind of wanted to allude to is once you're down 3-0 to Toledo, you think, oh man, that's over pretty early. But these guys fought back to make it a game where it was feasible that they could have sent it to overtime.
Absolutely. I thought they even could have won it in regulation with some of the chances that they had. But, it's one of those games where, again, you should have won, and my wonderful color broadcaster, Fred Mean, we had a difference of opinion after the game on the post game. He was saying, "Hey, I was impressed with the way this team came back. This team is going to be playoff ready. That's what I was looking at." And I just said, "Fred, I'm over moral victories when it comes to Toledo. This is a team we have to beat, and especially at home in front of a big crowd. The time for moral victories is out the window, and we need that win."
Yeah, over 9,000, over 9,500, I believe, on Saturday night. So when you take a look at Smerrick getting a goal, a power play goal to make it 4-2. I love the way that he played in this game. I mean, kind of a chip on his shoulder. Aliardi got decked. And then you see Jalen sticking up for him. I mean, what have you seen from Jalen this year that has endeared him to his teammates, because he's that guy, it feels like, that's got everyone's back?
Yeah, that's what he does. I mean, he's a leader. I mean, everywhere he's played, he has put up numbers. His teammates have loved him, and no different here. I mean, he's a guy who's he's gonna get under your skin. We've seen it. He played for Toledo and Cincinnati. He did it to us for years, and this is his MO, and he does it. No one does it better than Jalen. So, and he's a guy. He got his 200th ECHL assist on Friday, and he's a guy who makes things happen. So very happy to have him.
In your time watching the Komets, who are the best agitators? I mean, Hodgman was a great agitator as a forward. Who else?
Yeah.
Who else would you put in there with Jalen and those guys?
A Mitch Woods, a David Huckalo, those guys back in the since we're talking PC era, those guys were great agitators. Of course, Jack Dugan last year. Loved to get under guys' skins. So there's a lot of them, but unfortunately, there's that kind of player is kind of going away. Just like the fighters. Guys are more just kind of focused and not really into starting things and getting under your skin. But you always need those guys that that show a little bit of gamesmanship. That's going to play the psychological game.
I understand why that's happening in the ECHL, but do you like that? Do the fans like it? Because there is an element that is going away, and you talk to people in the stands, and they're like, some of them miss that. They're a little split on it.
Yeah, and that's what people have to understand. It's not the good old days. It's not the early '90s. It's not it's not the Wild Wild West anymore. These players have been taught differently. I mean, they're in their early 20s, and they are a different generation. And we now have to remember that these kids coming up have totally learned a different brand of hockey. It's not about the physical play anymore. It's about skill. It's about puck handling. It's about the hardest shot. So the game is evolving. It's changing. You still have the physical play. It still happens. You still are going to drop the mitts, but that's not that important anymore. So just people need to realize that we're evolving. Well,
some of us are.
right.
Some of us are still cavemen.
Yeah.
But one of the things is, speaking of dropping the gloves, one of the things you guys dropped on social media this week was a mic'd up segment with Blake Murray. I thought it was fantastic, so I want to take a look at it now. Here's Blake Murray mic'd up against the Indy Fuel earlier in the season.
Hey Rocco, how's World Juniors? Good, I saw you on TV. I was like, I know that guy.
Yeah. That's good, man.
Did you do the gold medal game?
I'll stand by for gold medal.
Nice. I saw you in the semis against Canada. Yeah.
Wild one, hey?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, line up on the middle.
Touch it.
So if I pass it up and he slides, I come up. If you pass it up and he slides, you come up. He's hitting my stick before. That's crazy. I'm wide open. How do I miss that? They're so puck focused that they're just, all 4 guys are like leaving me.
D, first board!
Yeah, that was nice. I gotta score that. Free cross checks?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's going to be the key before the next 2 periods based on what we saw in the first?
Yeah, I mean, the power play wasn't really clicking, but I mean, we're a 5-on-5 team. We can come at you all different ways, and I feel like we had a pretty good start. We have a bunch of chances. We just got to bury one. These guys do not want it. Weeksy, I need one bad. You already robbed me. How's it going?
What's up, brother?
He just stick me in the neck.
It's intact. It's gonna hurt like a son.
He just. You want to be behind me?
Toes on the line, both of us. Check your right foot. You're good. Hold it. Okay, Marty.
Whoa. He came right through and I didn't even hit the puck. Oh, so you're not going to kick him out?
Pass. You're a nice guy.
All right. So I'm not a nice guy? You already kicked me out.
In your ozone, you're not as nice.
I'm not trying to fall on you.
I always wonder what those conversations are like when they're out there on the ice, because there's a lot of chatting going on.
Yeah, and a lot of it is surprisingly is friendly. I mean, a lot of the guys know each other, and you also want to get on the officials' good side. So the good-natured chats with the guys in stripes is always appreciated by those guys.
Let's take a look at the highlights from Bloomington. We're going to go quick on this because there weren't, unfortunately, that many highlights. Komets blanked by the Bison on a Sunday. This just did not go well.
Yeah, I said
you have those kind of games.
I said at the end of the broadcast, the best thing about this game is that it's over. You have nights like this. You have days like this because both teams were really gassed. The Komets played the extra game there this week, and you're coming off an emotional game on Saturday, and it's a 2:00 start too. It's something that you're not used to, and you think, oh, there's only a few hours between the normal start. I'm like, that makes a huge difference. I mean, to be able, you're out of your normal routine. You didn't get that extra couple hours of sleep, maybe. So it all plays into it. And you're going to have games like this. You just have to minimize them. And we have. I mean, the Komets, that was their first time they've been shut out all season. Actually, it's been the first time they're shut out, I think, since last March. So almost a full calendar year. And they have shut out other teams 7 times. So, yeah, you know what? It's going to happen. So
the ebb and flow of the hockey season.
Exactly. So you move on. I mean, you still got a 5-point cushion over Bloomington. You had a chance to gain some ground on Toledo because they were idle on Sunday, and of course you lost to them on Saturday. They got 2 games at hand, but you can play a lot of more games. You can play more games in February and in the start of March. So the Komets will have a chance to gain that ground back, and eventually they'll have games at hand on Toledo. So, again, you're going to have weeks like this. All you can do is turn the page. Next week, you're going to have another shot at Toledo. You got 2 games against Indy, where the road team has won every game in that series, which is crazy. But still, a lot of points to be picked up next week, and it can all be erased.
Home game against Indy on Friday night, road game at Indy on Saturday, and then Sunday at Toledo. These are all teams right now, if the playoffs started, would be in the postseason. 3 of the top 4 teams in the ECHL Central Division. Of course, we'll have it all wrapped wrapped up for you next Monday here on Komets Corner. But for this week, he's Shane, I'm Glenn, and we'll see you next week.
You're watching Komets Corner.